So this is the parietal bone. Now, this right here is the convex outer part of the parietal bone. All right, it is convex and it's quite self-explanatory. Whereas this is the inner concave side of the parietal bone. Again, pretty explanatory, right? Now, what about the borders of the parietal bone? Yes, of course, it has borders. As I have said, it is quadrilateral, so it is bounded by 4 borders. Now, listen very carefully. This here, let me show you. See, this here is a posterior border. All right. This here is the superior border. This is the anterior border, and this is the inferior border. Should I slow down? This is the anterior border, this is the posterior border, this is the superior border, and this is the inferior border. But the thing is not only about describing it, I have to explain how I came to know about which border I'm talking about and how I am sure about if this is the inferior border or this is the anterior border. How am I sure about it? Listen to me. This is going to come in handy when we are talking about side determination of the parietal bone. So we are kind of doubling up here. So what we are doing here is looking for any uniqueness in the borders. We can all make out that these are all borders, right? This is the first border, this is the second border, this is the third border, this is the fourth border. But what we are looking for anatomically is a uniqueness. And the very first uniqueness that we find is notched here. This border is notched, see? So it is unique. That is why we have to remember that the inferior border of the parietal bone is notched. All right? It is not a straight line, it is a notched one. If we come to know about what the inferior side is, we can obviously make out this is the outer surface and this is the inner surface because of the convexity differences. And now we know that this is the inferior border. How do I come to know that this is the anterior border or this is the anterior border? That is also a bit tricky, right? For that, listen to me. Do you see this prolonged angle here? This is an angle. See, the parietal bone is quadrilateral, right? But it is also quadrangular. It not only has 4 sides, it also has 4 angles, just like a rectangle would have, just like any quadrilateral would have, right? So it is quadrangular as well. So along with the 4 sides, it also has 4 angles. The first angle, the second angle, the third angle, the fourth angle, right? This angle here, you see, again, this is unique. Why? Because it is prolonged. It is prolonged. No other angle is prolonged as that angle. And now we remember as a memory aid that the prolonged angle is in fact the antero-inferior angle. The antero-inferior angle. So if this is the antero-inferior angle and this is the inferior side of the parietal bone, this must be the anterior side, so that the angle between the anterior side and the inferior side is the antero-inferior angle and it is prolonged. So now we know that this is anterior, this is inferior, this must be posterior, and the upper one must be superior, right? So in this way, we can conclude not only on the sides, but also on which one is which border. This is the anterior, inferior, posterior, and the superior borders. As far as the angle is concerned, just like I have described here, this is a unique angle here. That is the meeting point between the anterior border and the inferior border. That is the antero-inferior angle. Whereas the other angles are this over here, which is the meeting point of inferior border and the posterior border. So what will this be? The postero-inferior angle, right? Whereas this angle here is the meeting point between the superior and the posterior borders. So it is the postero-superior angle. And the other remaining one, let me get you a better view. This is the other remaining angle. This is the junction between the anterior and the superior. So the antero-superior angle, right? See, the antero-superior angle is kind of 90 degrees, right? It is kind of a right angle. So that is also kind of a unique thing. Although it is not very distinguishable, here it is quite distinguishable that it is a 90 degree, but I would still go for the prolonged antero-inferior angle to determine which border is which. All right, but it does not hurt to know that this is a 90 degrees, almost a 90 degrees. Which one? The antero-superior angle.